Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Reckoning of Roku chapter analysis video. This one is going to be for chapter 31, which is called The Difference. Once again, YouTube channel membership is available if you would like to help support the channel, and subscribing also helps. So another pretty quick chapter, but this is a pretty significant one because Roku and Gyatso meet up again. Like, you might think there might be a little bit of a build up to this again, but it kind of happens quite suddenly in the middle of this brief chapter. So while we don't have the time to have a full discussion here, this chapter still manages to fit quite a bit in. So let's get into it here. So Roku, of course, still in Ulo's hut, is reflecting on the death of Yasu, and we get a little bit more of the kind of backstory here at the start, that after the sea had swallowed Yasu, Roku moved out of the academy dorms and went on leave for the remainder of the term. And much to the Fire Lord's dismay, so did Sozin. So this really interesting idea of Roku taking some time to kind of deal with his grief over the loss of his brother, and Sozin kind of doing the same, to be there for Roku, but he's also dealing with the loss of one of his only two friends as well. And they get across this basic idea here that, the death of Yasu does two different things to, very separate things for Roku and for Sozin. It says here, if Yasu's death halved Roku, it doubled Sozin. If it made Roku retreat, it made Sozin advance. And that's the kind of whole idea here, is that Sozin is the thing that keeps Roku going, because it's described here that, like, obviously Roku's parents had withdrawn into their own sorrow, and it was Sozin's presence alone that had kept Roku's head above the water and carried him back to shore, whether Roku wanted him to or not. So speaks to the importance of this friendship for both characters, that at this really tough moment, Roku so badly needed this. But for Sozin, this Roku is now left as like his only friend. And it's so interesting to see sort of the contrast of this to sort of where we are now, where Roku does have kind of another friend in Gyatso here, where Sozin still only has one friend, but he's not around him anymore. So interesting stuff. And yeah, he thinks to himself that, in a way, because of sort of the example Sozin set for him during this time, he is trying to not let Sozin down and be this good avatar, be this more confident person. And he's thinking about what the correct way is to do this. That, is it as simple as, get Ulo to spare the Earthbenders' lives, get the Western Kingdom Trading Company to stop being interested in the island, and then go to the Fire Lord and get him to let the Lambak clan be independent. And now all of a sudden he's awaiting his first kind of meeting with a spirit, and he just thinks to himself, I'm not ready for this at all in any way. And he thinks about the different characters that he's kind of close to and what they would say to him. And so he imagines Sozin saying, it doesn't matter if you're ready, act like it. Yasu would have said, the only thing that matters is if you're willing. Sister Disha says, preparation is essential, the difference between success and failure, life and death. And Gyatso, but you're already here, so what now? At this point, screaming starts, there's a massive commotion that happens here. Ulo immediately gets up, he goes out to check, he's worried something's going on. Roku looks down and sees that hog monkeys have quote-unquote invaded the village. And so this is the setup from the last chapter. Hog monkeys, Malaya was going to use them for something, and now we see that, okay, clearly Gyatso and Malaya have sent the hog monkeys through the village, creating a massive, massive distraction. And while Roku has no idea what's going on, Gyatso kind of appears before him, and Roku's like, what are you doing here? And we get this back and forth that effectively is Gyatso just wanting Roku to come with him, but Roku having all of these questions, and obviously they're not being timed to exactly explain the full situation here. Of like, I'll explain everything later, but Roku's like, no. I'm in an okay position here. You need to explain something, and, who will trust the other first, given that they split up and had this big fight, basically. So, we get the idea. Gyatso references Malaya a few times, and obviously Roku's just like, who's Malaya overall? And they keep kind of talking past each other. Like Roku's like, oh, your airbending is back. We can talk later. I don't know what you think is happening to me, but I'm fine. I'm on the verge of cracking this whole situation wide open, actually. And Ulo's starting to trust me. He's telling me more and more about the island. Gyatso says it's all lies, but Roku still feels he can learn something by being around him. Not if he kills you first. Why would he do that? Malaya's not sure yet. Again, who's Malaya? And then we get to the heart of this, which is Gyatso saying, Roku, I know you're still angry at me, but I need you to trust me. And Roku counters with, and I need you to trust me. I can't leave the island until I figure all of this out. Because Gyatso hasn't explained where he's taking Roku to. So he still feels that Gyatso is trying to sort of get him off the island. But Gyatso's like, I came back to help you, not to drag you back to Sister Disha. Come with me for a bit, hear me out, then you can return to Ulo if you want. And so what happens here is like Roku's like, okay, but how do I leave and make it come across that like Ulo won't just assume I've escaped? So Gyatso basically just uses his airbending, destroys the room a little bit, and makes it look like a hog monkey came in here and scared you out, and you had to flee from the hog monkey. And so that's what happens. They head out, they fly off together, as they get the final bit of dialogue between them here, which is, I'm still mad at everything you said. That's Roku to Gyatso. Gyatso says, the feeling's mutual, but I'm sorry. And yes, they just barely miss as they fly out. Ulo arriving back in his hut and kind of searching out for wherever they are. So they've managed to evade Ulo, but the idea here is, of course, Gyatso is going to take Roku back to Malaya, and the idea is, I guess, we're going to get the big meeting of like the kind of three characters here. We're going to have a little bit of a Team Avatar style thing going on here. So that's going to be pretty exciting. But certainly an interesting chapter. Gyatso and Roku kind of temporarily reuniting, bit of a back and forth. The argument is still on. They need some time to talk this through a little bit, but Gyatso already sort of apologizing here, and we'll get more time to discuss this in the coming chapters. But I like the opening to the chapter as well, with the idea of, okay, here is more of the aftermath. That like, okay, Sozin was there at the funeral, but then in the aftermath of that, it lasted a bit longer. Like, school was not a focus for both of them, and it was just about kind of getting through this. But also it was the death of Yasu, which kind of created the situation that we sort of have at the start of the book, like in a way, like just prior to Roku being announced as the Avatar, which is that Sozin's always been super ambitious, and now he's more driven than ever to do what he needs to do, in a way to make up for the fact that Yasu was this this person who would always, not think things through and just go for it. That the reason his line is, the only thing that matters is if you're willing. It's just like, if you can, you do it, basically. And so Sozin kind of takes that to heart. Roku not as much, because already not super confident. And then what happened at the funeral just kind of absolutely ruining any chance of that kind of turning around anytime soon. But what is beginning to turn things around for Roku is this mission. That's like the point of this book, is that Roku's growth is happening now. Sozin helped him through the initial kind of grief back then. Like, just the note here of like, in the absence of Roku's parents, Sozin was the one to keep his head above the water. That sort of idea. And I really like that kind of comparison, because it is like, you can't deny how important Sozin is to Roku because of moments like that and many others. But also we know what is going to happen in the future. And then that contrast between the big moment of like the main friendship we know about, Roku Sozin, but then also the return of the new friend in Gyatso here, and it very much being about, do you trust me? Come with me. There's something you need to know. And Roku eventually being like, okay, I'll go with you. that's a nice thing as well. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this chapter. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.